Retired police officer Kent Davis has always considered himself a patriot first and foremost. After enrolling in the Navy, he became a police officer in the Los Angeles Housing Authority, patrolling the Los Angeles projects and trying to tackle the area's gangs.
It was crime on steroids. We called it, our police department called it ghetto PD.
And you've seen some pretty crazy stuff.
Sure, you can't help it. It's in the projects, so.
Thinking back on that time makes him feel morose. He said his time on the streets taught him the system is corrupt because of how hypocritical it can be. And as a lifelong conservative, he rallied behind President Donald Trump, and his pledges to call out political corruption, maintain law and order, and drain the swamp.
This guy actually believes what he says. Actually believes this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of Ronald Reagan when he was negotiating with Gorbachev.
Kent is such an unwavering Trump supporter, he can't imagine a scenario where he doesn't win.
If he doesn't get another 4 years, he's in big trouble. And I think we're all in trouble.
So it might be even harder to imagine that one of Kent's closest friends is a diehard liberal. The person on the phone with Kent is this guy, George Holt, a security consultant in Riverside who sells weapons for a living now. But about 25 years ago, he worked alongside Kent for the Los Angeles Police Department.
At some point, we ended up in the same car together. And we just kind of clicked, man, and the bond was 30 years old at this point.
George was once a conservative like Kent, but had what he calls a sudden epiphany that transformed his political views.
While I had done well as a black man, born in 1965, growing up in America, everybody didn't have the same advantages that I had, because I did have some advantages.
George and Kent have managed to bridge the political divide, because they say that despite being on opposite sides of the aisle, it's important to remember that the country comes first.
The bond wasn't forged in politics, it was forged in the streets. And the trust came from the streets. So certainly conservative. He's my favorite conservative, one of my favorite conservatives.
Regardless of who anyone votes for, it pays to look for the common ground. For Annenberg Media, I'm Trevor Kefauver.